G'day so-and-sos, welcome to our sewing room. I'm Kathy, that's Lucifer, and this is the bag that we're going to be making today. So this bag is pretty cool. I'm very, very excited about it, and I'll explain a little bit more along the way why, but let's have a look at her. So she's got two outside zip pockets, the front and the back are the same. And then she opens up and she is roomy. She's really, really big once you open her up, and she's got a couple of slip pockets and a magnetic clasp. So if you are a confident beginner, if you've made any of my other bags and you've managed to put a zipper pocket in and you've managed to make a strap, then I think you'll be fine. And I'll take you through it as usual, step by step along the way. So let's just jump into it. What do you think, Luce? We'll get cracking. Yeah? Let's go over all of our pattern pieces. So like I said, there's no actual pattern pieces to print out. We start with rectangles for everything, and I'll have all of it listed in the description box. So before you start, make sure you go there and you print that bit out so you have that as a reference, but we'll go over it briefly here. So all of my lining pieces, I've already gone ahead and interfaced with a light iron-on interfacing. And my interior pieces are 19.5 wide by 11.5 high and light iron-on interfacing. And then my two exterior zipper pockets are 11.5 high by 12.5 wide. And again, lined with iron-on, light iron-on. And then my slip pockets, and my slip pockets are 12 high by 8 wide, and I have two of those. And then I have my key fob, and my key fob is 20.5 by 3, and all with light on interfacing. Okay, let's look at the vinyl. So my center panels, and this vinyl is from Missy Rose Fabrics, and it is beautiful. My center panels are 11 inches wide by 11.5 high, two of those, and I'm not interfacing those yet. So we're just going to leave those for now. Don't put your interfacing on. And then I have my side panels for the exterior, and they are 5 inches wide by 11.5 high. I have 4 of them, and I've gone ahead and used a light iron-on interfacing for them just to give them a little bit more of a hold. But it depends, because it's pretty floppy, the vinyl that I'm using. So it's up to you whether or not you interface those pieces, and that's just from Spotlight, and my lining is from Spotlight as well. And then I have my connector tabs. They are 2 inches by 2.5 inches, and I've just used some buckram on them. And then I have my strap, and I'm not interfacing my strap. And my strap is 4 inches wide by 56 inches long. So I've made it nice and long, but it's up to you, anywhere between like 52 and 60 inches. But being a crossbody adjustable strap, we've got lots of room to move. Then I've got my other interfacing pieces. So I've got just a couple of scrap pieces of the light iron-on that I'm going to use to put behind my magnetic clasp. They're around 1 inch by 1 inch or so. And then I have the buckram that I'm going to use for that center panel. And these are 8.5 by 10.5 for these ones. And I've cut 2 of those. And then the top strips are 1.5 by 10.5 and have 2 of those. And then I have some foam, which is 10.5 by 10, and I've got 2 of those. So a foam's just going to give that bag sort of the nice way that it sits. And I know that's a lot, but don't worry, you'll get it. And then I've got, you right, Luce? Then I've got some tape, so I'll be using just some hemming tape just to help me make that key fob, but it's not necessary. And then I have some double-sided tape to help me make my strap. And again, if you don't have any, you can make do with clips. Then I have some rivets. If you don't have rivets, don't worry, because we're going to sew the strap anyway. I'm just doing it more as a decorative thing. And then I have 2 pieces of zipper tape. Zipper tape is 12 inches long. I have 2 of those and number 5 zipper heads. And then I have 2 1-inch D-rings, 2 1-inch swivel hooks, 1 1-inch slider, and then I have just a little 3/4 inch swivel hook for the key fob and 1 magnetic clasp. And of course I have all my usual scissors, rotary cutter, acrylic rulers, all that jazz. But if you're making this bag, then I imagine you have all that stuff anyway. Okay, let's start on the strap. So let's work on our strap. Okay, I'm going to turn it up so it's wrong side up, and I'm going to measure up 2 inches and draw a line, which I'd already started to do, but then Lucy Pear walked over my iPad and turned my camera off. Okay, so 2 inches up and draw a line down the middle, which is okay because I was a bit wonky anyway. All the way down, and then we're going to lay a double-sided sticky tape down along that line. So if you don't have tape, it's okay, you can just clip it. And while I do this, I'm going to tell you guys what's been going on with me. So you guys wouldn't have noticed because I had enough content filmed in advance, but I recently spent around 3 weeks in hospital, and it was a little bit dramatic, but I'm fine now. So I've been struggling with back injury for a long time, and it's been further complicated by fibromyalgia, which I have a lot of the neurological problems with. So as I lay this tape down, I'm going to be careful not to pull and let it sort of lay loosely so it's not tight and doesn't pucker my strap. So this back injury I've had for ages has just been awful. And I was sort of strung along a little bit by a neurosurgeon I was seeing in Canberra for years, who then finally admitted that he didn't think he was capable or had the confidence for actually doing the surgery for me and helping me. So then I was stuck because I'd sort of gotten really worse over that couple of years I'd been seeing him. And then I had to try and get in with another neuro, which is near impossible. And I just need to grab some more tape. Give me a sec. Found some. Cool. So yeah, I was really lucky to get in with this other neuro, but it was all a bit dramatic. I was taken by ambulance from my home to Wagga Base Hospital, and I was there in the emergency for a couple of days, and then I was transported by air ambulance up to St Vinny's in Sydney, where I had the most amazing team. My surgeon, just brilliant man, Dr. Jacob Fairhall. I am very, very grateful to him because I think he's fixed me, which is just, to me, a miracle. Okay, hang on, I'll get back to the story. Let's pull that tape off, and then we'll start folding in our strap to the middle line, starting in the middle. I don't want to start on one end because then my strap will have more chance of going wonky and not laying even. So I'll take that first bit of tape off. It's probably a good idea to lay your tape in a couple of strips when it's this long. So I'm going to start roughly in the middle, fold that up to the line, and then start laying it along. So yeah, St Vinny's in Sydney was absolutely amazing. So I had Dr. Fairhall, he was my surgeon, and then Dr. Joel Mamami. I always say his name wrong. I've seen it written a few times differently, but I'll put it up on the screen. He was my neurologist, and I saw him yesterday, caught up with him, and he is fantastic and a lovely, lovely man, very clever. And then my pain specialist, Dr. Wallman. So yeah, I was very, very lucky. I had a very, very good team that looked after me. But this bag is for the nurse on the air ambulance that transported me, and I'm pretty sure her name is Rebecca. I was off my face on all the good stuff that they had to give me to transport me. But she was absolutely amazing. I don't remember a whole lot from the flight. I just remember that she was very caring, very attentive, and I felt very safe. And even though it was all, kind of a big deal and dramatic and everything else. She just made me feel relaxed, and I mean, it was probably all the stuff I was on too. But no, it was her as well. She was absolutely fantastic. And I had it in my head at that moment that I was going to make her a bag. So I remembered, that's one thing that I remembered from the whole thing. So this is why I'm doing this. I wish I could make something for everyone that looked after me, but there was just so many people. And I just got it in my head that I was going to make Rebecca a bag. And so that's what I wanted to do. So I'll contact the transport team up in Sydney at St. Vinny's and see if I can send it up there and if they can somehow get it to her. Cool. So that's one side. Flip it around and then do the other side. Being careful not to let it fold up and stick anywhere. And like, I'm just one patient that she transported that day. They probably did multiple patients that day. Her and Ash. Ash was the pilot and he was pretty cool too. I remember Rebecca saying, you know, do you want a photo of the jet as they got me off? Because it was like a brand new jet. And I was like, yeah, cool. And then I sort of teased him into coming into the photo and having a selfie with me. So he was lovely. And again, very clever. There's just so many skilled people involved, like, you know, the pilot to get me up there and the nurse to look after me and keep me stable on the way. And then the team up in Sydney, they had to keep me for the first week and a half, I think, or maybe closer to 2 weeks. I don't know, I can't remember, just to get me stable enough to do the surgery. So there was all the people involved in that, like Dr. Joel and Dr. Warman and everything else, and all the nurses and amazing like cleaning staff. There was one cleaner and her name tag said Joy, but she said that her name was, she went by Kathy as well, but she was from the Philippines, so her actual name was something completely different. So yeah, but she was absolutely lovely. This cleaner should come in and have a chat every day and check on me, and you know, if she wasn't busy, she'd go get me a cup of tea, and just beyond what was her job, you know, and that's what made all the difference while I was up there, because I was up there for a bit of time. Okay, now we're going to grab some clips and we are going to fold this in half. Again, I'm going to start in the middle, and I've got it so that side that we just taped up is towards me, so that raw edges is hiding in the middle. Fold it in half and start whacking some clips on the whole length. So yeah, I made Adrian come home because Lucy Perra and Tron Cat were in a kennel. So I made him fly back down to check on the cats because I was worried about them. So it was a long time up there sort of on my own, just chilling. So having, even just the sort of support staff, the cleaners and the tea ladies and guys and all that type of thing, having them was just amazing. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. So it was in between the wall changes. So my wall changed from grey to purple, and that was the time that I had off. So my first video back was a couple of weeks ago when I did the 1 year anniversary video. That was the first one back, and then last week I did the nice easy plate one because I'm still recovering. And this will be my first bag since I've been back. So it is for Rebecca, who made me feel nice and safe, and nurses deserve all the recognition. So yeah, hopefully it gets to her. We'll give it a crack. Okay, so I'm going to shut up, finish clipping this down along the edge, and then we'll take it over to the sewing machine and sew it together down each side, starting from the same end both times, but I'll show you what I mean if you don't know. And I'm going to take the hardware over with me as well and pop that on, and we'll sew that down while we're there. But if you haven't done it before, don't worry, because I will show you over there. I'm going to start on my folded edge right at the top. My stitch length is around 4.5, and the side of my foot is right up against the side of my strap, and I'm using a Teflon foot so it slides a little bit easier over this vinyl. Little back stitch and just work my way all the way down, trying to stay nice and consistent with the side of that strap.
Right there on top of the moon, we could sit and do nothing. I wish we were bold to just fly away. I don't wanna care, just be here and I'm good alone. I'll be okay, miss you like an old friend. Too scared now.
Okay, down towards the end, fingers out of the way, little back stitch. Now I'm not going to zip across the bottom. I'm going to cut my thread, make sure it stays the same way up. So I'm stitching on the same side and then start from this end. And that will help stop any sort of twists and turns. Little back stitch, and again just lining up the side of my foot with the side of the strap.
To like sail away, I just don't wanna care. Can you be here and I'm good alone? I'll be okay.
Okay, down towards the end. Little back stitch. Now I'm going to be really careful that I keep my strap the same way up so I know which way is the top. So I'm going to just cut those threads off a little bit. I can tidy it up more in a minute. Cool. Now I'm going to whack the hardware on while I'm here because we're going to sew it on. So the first thing I'm going to grab is my slider. So I know this is the top of my strap. So I'm going to pop it through, turn it over so that metal bit is in the middle. I'm just being mindful that I stay in frame of the camera. Cool. So I know now that this is my top. The stitching just looks a little bit nicer than it does underneath. You can sort of tell which is the top and which is the bottom. So I'm going to slide my slider up probably about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, let's say, because I want enough room for my rivets too. And then fold it over. So now I'm working on the back where I've got that short bit that I've just folded over. And I'm going to, nice and close to that raw edge. Actually, I might get some scissors and tidy up that raw edge a little bit first. Okay, just gonna even that out a little bit because I'm not putting strap ends on, so I want it to look nice and flat. Cool. Now, I can just sew down along that top edge, being careful not to let it shift on me. So I'll start in a little bit further, not right on the edge. Little back stitch and sew over the top bit. And then I'll go down and sew down, trying to stay on those same existing stitches. So I've got some few layers now. Make sure that slide is out of the way. Turn across and then back up those stitches. Now, if you're not using rivets, then you might want to then sew an X. So from corner to corner. So from here to here and here to here. But I'm going to whack a couple of rivets in there. So I won't do that because I want it to look neat, and otherwise the rivets might go through it. Cool. So again, this is the top of my strap. So I've got that little patch that we sewed on and that bit's underneath. I'm going to come down to the other end, grab one of my hooks, and I'm going to place it so the flat bit of it is on the back and my hook bit is on the top, like that. Then I'll flip it over, come back down to my slider end, being careful not to let it twist, I'll grab the other end and poke that up through that bit of slider. And then you might need to squish it a little bit. Squish him down and poke it through that end like that. Okay, and then my hook will be down like that. So just make sure that your hook is on the outside and you don't have any twists in your strap like that. And then we've got this end. So same thing, I might just cut that so it's a little bit neater. Across, like that. Grab my other little hook. So here's the top end of our strap where our slider is. Place that so my hook is on top on the same side and then the back of it is underneath. And then flip him over and same thing. Pop that over about 2 inches or so of overhang. I'll measure on my little ruler there. Cool. And then again, working on the back, starting up the top, needle down, back stitch, across, and then same thing down along those existing stitches. And I'm just pulling that hook so it doesn't sort of move up on me. I don't want to let that needle get anywhere near the metal. And then across, if you need to whack a hump jump in behind your foot or a bit of folded up vinyl or something, that might help. And pivot. And down, and same thing, if you aren't using rivets, do a little X. And that is our strap done. Okay, so our strap is sewn down, but I'm just going to whack a couple of rivets in there as well. So if you have a rivet press, you might want to think about doing this bit. Otherwise, it'll be fine if you don't. So I'm just going to open it up here so I can get to that doubled over bit. And I'm just going to punch a couple of holes in that square there, round about. Punch. And another one at the top there. And whack some rivets in there. Now when I go back to my sewing machine, I'm going to clean off my needle with a alcohol wipe after using that double-sided sticky tape, because I can already hear it. It's making that noise that you hear when your needle is either gunked up or ready to be changed. So we'll remember to do that. Remind me. Lucy Purr. And then that one. Okay, and then here. So same thing. Whack a couple of holes in there. Around about the middle, you can measure if you want, but I'm eyeballing it. Crunch, I love that noise. And crunch, and it feels so nice to be able to do that without it hurting my back. So I feel like a new woman, but I have to take it easy. I'm still only 6 weeks, I think, yeah, just over 6 weeks out of surgery. So my brain is like, let's go. And my body's like, not yet, sis. Slow your roll. But yeah, feeling much, much better. Okay, so get that one out of the way. And this one. So I've been taking Lucy Purr for lots of walks in her pram because she loves it. And it means that I have something to lean on and support me as well. So the neighbours think we're nuts, but who cares? You've got to live your own life to the beat of your own drum. Okay, that one. There we go. So there is our lovely strap. Next bit loose. Now we're going to work on our center panels. So I have my 2 center panels, acrylic ruler and rotary cutter. So I'm going to have my center panel right side up in front of me, and I'm going to be working along one of the 11-inch edges. So the top of my center panel, the 11-inch edge. So I'm going to grab my ruler, and from this top edge, I'm going to measure down 2.5 inches. So again, this is the top, that's the side, that's the bottom. And I'm going to cut off the top at that 2.5 inch mark, like that. A little bit scary. Pop them together, and then same thing with this one. So I'm going to make sure I'm working on the top edge. So that's 11, that's my top. Grab my ruler and measure down 2.5 inches and chop that off nice and straight like that. Now I'm going to make sure that these 2 pieces stay together and these 2 pieces stay together, so they are pattern matched, so that my stethoscopes, which is hard to say with a lisp, stay like the same pieces, stay with the same pieces. And I'll grab my buckram, and so this top piece is going to be our short strip of buckram smack in the middle, and then our bigger piece in the middle. So we have a little bit of a seam allowance on all sides. And I'll take these over to the iron and iron them on. You do the same, and I'll meet you back here in a minute. So I've got my buckram on my pieces. I've popped one to one side. So I've got one piece, one of my zipper pockets, zipper tape, and my clips. And I've given my vinyl a little minute to cool down, so I'm not working with it while it's still soft. So I've made sure that I've got the 2 right pieces, that they're pattern matched, and I'm going to pop that bit to the side for a sec. So I'm working along this edge. Grab my zipper tape, and I'm going to place it right sides together with my vinyl, with my zipper head to the left. And it's right sides together, so my teeth of my zipper tape are sitting against my vinyl, and I can see the back of my zipper tape. I'm going to whack some clips along there. Now I'm going to grab one of my zipper pockets, and I'm going to find the bottom short edge. So if your fabric has a pattern and it's directional, you want to be grabbing the bottom. Mine doesn't, so it doesn't matter. So I'll just grab one of my short edges and then place it right sides together with my vinyl. So I've got around 1/2 inch on either side, and then pull that up so it's lined up with the top there, and then just shift my clips to include that. So my zipper tape is now sandwiched in between my vinyl and my zipper pocket, like that. Flip it over and just make sure you're happy with it. Cool. Now we're going to take that over to the sewing machine, and we are going to stitch that down. So I'm going to shorten my stitch length to around 3.5, and I'm going to be nice and close up to those zipper teeth. So I'm not quite on them, but I'm going to do my very best to stay consistent as I work my way down. Little back stitch. And I'm using these fingers to feel where those teeth are as I go. So as I get close up to this zipper head, I don't want to get anywhere near it with my needle. So I'm just going to carefully pull it. You can open it up and move it down if you like, but I'm just going to hold it there with that finger back stitch. Cool, bananas. Right, so while I'm here, I'm now going to take it and fold it open like that, so I can top stitch. And I'm going to grab my little roller. If you want to take it back and iron it from the fabric side, if you're using vinyl on the front, then you can do that, but I'm just going to use the roller. Fold that down as best I can and give that a bit of a press with my roller. Okay, I think that will do it. So keeping that sort of folded down where I can feel it. Now I'll pop my foot down, needle down, and lengthen my stitch length back up to around 4.5 because I'm top stitching. Make sure I've got hold of that zipper head. So this is what we have so far. Now I'm going to flip it over so I can see the zipper pocket. Fold that zipper pocket up to meet the top edge of that zipper tape and whack some clips down along that edge like that. And then I'll flip it back over. Now, when you do this, make sure you have the right edge of this piece lining up. So I'm going to find where my pattern matches up, and that looks right. Then I'm going to turn that over and include that vinyl piece in my new little sandwich I've made there. So just make sure that you have it the right way up so that your pattern matches up like that. Cool. Now take this back over to the sewing machine and same thing. We're going to stitch that down and then flip that bit up and top stitch it. Okay, so I've shortened my stitch length back down to 3.5. Grab that zipper head so it doesn't get under my needle. And same thing. Trying to stay nice and consistent at around the same seam allowance that we did for the other piece. I'm just feeling where those teeth are with my fingers and my fabulous nails. Okay, and again, if you want to take it over and iron it, then of course you're more than welcome to do that, but I'm just going to use my roller again. So I'm going to just pop that piece up. Make sure that seam is up, so I want this seam to sit up. I'll show you on the back, just in case you don't know. Flip that up and then roll it. Or press it or whatever. Use your fingers, use an iron. Be careful if you're using an iron that it doesn't get too hot if you're using vinyl, because we want to top stitch over that piece. Cool. Flip him over. And remember to lengthen your stitch length because we're now top stitching, so back up to 4.5 or whatever you're using. Little back stitch and nice and consistent, keeping the side of my foot lined up with the side of that fabric Making sure that seam stays flipped up. Cool. And if I sewed over that, I'll yell at myself. Remember to keep your zipper pocket folded down. Made it. Cool. Let's go back to the table. So there's one of my zipper pockets done. Very cool. Have a little look inside, make sure I'm happy with that. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go and do the other one and then I'll meet you back here. So I have my 2 center pocket pieces completed. Now what I'm going to do is grab some scissors. Now these are my not so good scissors because I'm going to be cutting through that zipper tape. And I'm just going to trim up that pocket and that zipper tape along the sides like that. If you want to use a rotary cutter and a ruler, then you could do it that way. But I'm just going to do it this way. And it doesn't have to be exact and hugely neat because we're going to put our side panels on there in a minute. And Lucy Pear is chasing a fly around the room, so she's going mad. So if you hear crashing and banging, don't worry about it. She's fine. I hope. She'll be all right. Okay, get all that trimmed down. It's been a little bit nuts today. Put my scissors aside and I'm going to grab my side panels and my clips. Okay, I'm going to work on these one at a time. So handful of clips, grab one of my side panels and lay it right sides together on top of my vinyl. And I've just pulled that zipper head over into more of the middle, line up the top and bottom and whack some clips along the edge. Now making sure that my zipper pocket on the inside is sitting down nice and neat as I do this as well, so it doesn't get caught up later as we sew all this together. Cool. Okay, and then same thing on the other side. Place it right sides together. So pretty side to pretty side. And whack some clips on. Down along there. Now we're going to take this over to the sewing machine. I'll get the other one ready as well in a sec. And we'll take them over to the sewing machine and stitch those down, flip them over, roll those seams and then top stitch them, but I'll show you each step of the way. Okay, I'll get the other one prepared and see you over at the sewing machine. And get this damn cat. She's at the window, she can see a bird. So I've shortened my stitch length down to around 3.5 and I want to be around 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I've moved that zipper head roughly into the middle so it's out of the way. So a little back stitch and want to make sure that I just stay nice and consistent all the way down. And we'll do one side. I'll show you one side and then I'll do all the other ones. So nice and as consistent as I can at that 1 inch, 1/4 inch seam allowance down to the bottom. Cut my thread, fold that open so that my seam is staying this way. So I'm folding that vinyl over it. Give it a little finger press or a little roll so it just sits nicely, nice and flat. And that is looking pretty. Okay, lengthen my stitch length up to around 4.5. And then at a nice 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, so the side of my foot is lining up with that seam. top stitch down. So I'll attach the other 3 pieces and then I'll fold them all over and top stitch them, but I just wanted to show you that one, and then I'll just run some music over the top of the rest of it. And just make sure that when you get to the top stitching part that you check your bobbin and you're not playing bobbin chicken while you're top stitching.
Say what you wanna say to me now. I wanna wake up with you in the morning. Show me there's nothing fake to me now. I wanna wake up with you in the morning. Say what you wanna say to me now. I wanna wake up with you in the morning. Show me there's nothing fake to me now. I wanna wake up with you in the morning. Turn this room, turn it to an ocean. Let me float around. Eyes closed, like we're dreaming even when we're not. You and me got a whole other meaning, I don't know how. You and me.
So there's my center panels done. Zipper pocket on the back, looking good, looking fancy. I'm loving them. So we just need to get the D-ring connector tabs on these guys before we can pop them to the side. So I'm going to grab those little connector tabs and I'm just going to have it wrong sides up in front of me. That's the long edge that way. So we're going to fold it in towards the middle along those long edges. So if you're using fabric, you could give that a hit with the iron, but I'm using vinyl. So I'll just give that a little press as best I can and whack some clips along there to hold it in place. And when we take these over to the sewing machine, we'll take the D-rings with us and just do it all at once. So whack some clips on there to hold him, like that. And then the other one as well. Fold those long edges into meet at the middle. Give it a little press. Not that it's going to do too much, but it'll help with that a little bit. I mean, if I wasn't being so lazy, I could get the double-sided sticky tape out again and do that, but I think I've already put it away and I'm being lazy. So that might be an idea if you want to. There, there and there. Cool bananas. All right, take them over to the sewing machine and take these guys along with us. So I'm going to work on the right side of my connector tab, so the top. So the fold is on the bottom, have him so he's facing top up, and I'm top stitching. So my stitch length is around 4.5, and just gonna go down that side, grab the other one, whack him under as well, and just chain them. And then other side. Making sure I'm nice and close to the edge, around that 1/8 of an inch. Had my clips on the wrong way. Surprise, surprise, Catherine Ann. Cool. Okay. Cut that thread, separate them, grab my D-ring. So grab one of my D-rings and put it so the flat side is against the back of the connector tab. Fold it in half. And I'll shorten my stitch length a little bit back down. Make sure those ends are together, and I'm just giving that D-ring a little bit of a pull and holding it there to make sure it doesn't shift up. And I'll just stitch along that top bit to hold that together. Just like that. So same thing, flat bit along the back of the connector tab, fold that up to meet those raw edges, hold the metal and just hold them together. Cool. Now we're going to attach our connector tabs to our panels. So I've got both panels, my connector tabs, my ruler and some clips. So I'm going to measure in 1 inch along the top of my center bit from the side that has that zipper head, so my left hand side. So just measure 1 inch along the top and pop my connector tab there. And I want it overhanging about 1/4 of an inch or so. And don't worry if your side panels were a little bit taller like mine are. I just need to trim that down. I'll just cut them a little bit long, or else it's just stretched a little bit as I've sewn. So if that looks messy, don't worry. And clip that guy on. And then same thing to this one. So the side where my zipper head is, left hand side, measure across 1 inch from our join there. Have it overhanging about 1/4 of an inch and whack some clips on there. And then we'll take that back over to the sewing machine and just stitch them down. Okay, so my stitch length is around 3.5, nice and short. Get those clips out of the way, just holding it in place. And I'm just holding that D-ring down. Now, if you need a hump jump to pop in behind your foot there, it's probably a good idea. And just nice and slow, back stitch a little. We want to be nice and close to the edge. We don't want to be too far down because this will get caught up again. So we're just holding it in place. So a nice 1/8 of an inch. And then this one looks so pretty so far. I love this vinyl from Missy Rose. I'm so glad I found it. It's exactly what I was looking for. Little back stitch and across. There we go. That is our front panels all done. So there's my front panels all sewn together. So I've got them and my foam pieces. So I'm going to take one, lay it wrong side up in front of me, grab one of my foam bits and place that on so the long edge of my foam is lined up with the side of my panel there. So it should fit nicely on your center panel. And then I will take that over to my big iron and iron that on from the back, not from the front. So a good tip that I think Donna told me a while ago is to give that a bit of a pss, 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 pss with water on the back of the foam when you're attaching it to vinyl. So there's a tip for you. Okay, I'll get these on and I'll see you back here in a moment. Now we're going to get cracking on our lining pieces. So I have my key fob bit and my 2 slip pockets. I'm going to work on the key fob bit first. So I'm going to lay it right side down in front of me so I can see the back of it. And I am going to measure up 1.5 inches and give myself a line, just like we did with our strap. And I'm going to use the hemming tape to help me do this bit. But like I said, if you don't have any, no big deal. So grab my scissors and my iron and lay that down in front of me. And I'm just going to whack a bit of this hemming tape on the back there. And it's just going to help hold it in place as I iron it. So if you don't have any, just whack some clips on as you go. Okay. Now I've let Tron Cat in as well because she was at the door whinging. So if they start bluing in a minute, then yeah, just do your best to ignore it and I'll get Tron Cat out of here. Lucy Purr is very much, this is her space. So same as what I did with the strap, I've just folded in the sides to meet the middle and I'm just going to iron down and that hemming tape will just hold it all in place. Now you can get, it just works like interfacing and you can get it from like any sort of sewing supply store or Spotty or anything like that. I got this one off Temu, it was like 80 cents or something for a pretty decent sized roll of it. So worthwhile. So then fold it in half again, like we did the strap, and just iron that down as well. And I'll whack some clips on that bit as I go, because that's not going to hold. And then, once I get this done, I'll whack that, oh God, I say whack way too much. Had a comment the other day from a lady from Canada, Sue, I think it was, who said she'll be forever whacking clips on. I don't realise how much I say it. Okay, we'll place some pins and some clips, whack some clips on there, and I'll find that little swivel hook. Okay. So I'm going to take this little guy over to the sewing machine with us and I'm going to sew down one side and then pop that on and sew it at the top. But I'll show you while we're over there. Okay, I've changed out my thread and I'm going to start down along one of my folded sides and I'm at 1/8 of an inch. Now don't worry about leaving the raw edges at the top and bottom because they're going to be caught up in a seam allowance. So my stitch length, I don't know if I said 4.5 because I'm top stitching. No, went a bit wonky there at the bottom. I'll unpick that in a minute and fix it, but I'll show you what we're going to do first. So then I'm going to grab my hook, put it so the flat bit is on the back like we did before, and then making sure that's not twisted, pop my two edges together, and I can actually hide that wonky bit in the middle, so I think I'll be right actually. Happy days. And just sew that end together. But like I said, that's going to be caught up in a seam allowance. Cool. Okay, slip pockets. So I'm going to take one laid in front of me lengthways and fold it in half and give that a bit of a hit with the iron. And the cats lasted all of 5 minutes before they had a Barney and I had to kick poor Tron Cat out. She always gets a short end. Okay, now I'm going to mark the top of this with a 3-inch, let's go 4-inch turnout hole. So I give myself a line there and a line there. So I'm 2 inches in from either side and then left that 4 inches and whack some clips on there like that. And that was your fault, Lucy Purr. She wasn't doing anything. That was all you. Okay, watch the iron, watch the iron. Ah, it's a good thing you're cute. Okay, other one, same thing. Fold that up, give it a hit with the iron, just along that edge. And give myself a turnout hole because I'll forget. 2 inches in from either side. and 4 inches across there. Cool. Okay, let's take this over and sew down along those sides and just that 2 inches up the top on either corner. You're a naughty cat. Okay, shorten your stitch length back down to around 3.5, starting on one of the bottom corners, around 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Making sure that I'm working on the side that I marked that turnout hole so I don't forget. Now when I get up to this top corner, I'm going to stop a little bit beforehand, pivot 45, drop 1 stitch, and then keep going. And back stitch at that turnout hole. Cut away, start on the other side. Little back stitch. And same thing, when I get up to this corner, I'll stop just a little bit beforehand, maybe one more. Pivot 45 degrees, so I've got that triangle. Drop 1 stitch, and then down to the other side. It'll just make our corners look a little bit neater. And I'll do the other one exactly the same. Too easy. Let's go turn these out and hit them with the iron. So there they are sewn together with their turnout hole. Let's just snip away those corners where we did that little angle stitch. There and there. And then we'll turn them out and give them a hit with the iron, ready to top stitch. Poke all that out. Poking out those corners with a little purple thing, if I can find one. I've got like 50 of them. Jeez Louise. It's a good thing I've got sharp nails. I'll use those today. So Lisa Perry and I just stopped for lunch and she took off with half my chicken sandwich, and it was making me think about the day that I was taken by ambulance from here. And like I said, my back had been so bad and it had just gotten so much worse and my mobility was just terrible. And I tripped over her. Well, I didn't trip over her, I almost tripped over her, and I sacrificed myself for the damn cat because I didn't want to land on her and hurt her. So I went butt over and I'm laying on the ground going, oh crap, and I'm looking at her and she's looking at me and I'm like, oh my God, call Adrian. And she's like, oh my God, who's going to feed me? So I managed to yell at my phone to call Adrian, and he come home and called an ambulance. And Lucy was like, oh, thank God. I'd like chicken for lunch, please. So yeah, but then joke's on her because she spent 3 weeks in the boarding kennel, which I was like so worried because she's got, I don't know if you've watched the not tutorial, the video I did on Lucy Perry. She's got special needs. So she has seizures and she's also got asthma. So I was calling the kennel every day. Is my cat all right? I'm like, yeah, she's fine. Nothing wrong with her. Okay, so I'm going to just stick my fingers in there and pull at those sides of my turnout hole. Pop that down and then give that a hit with the iron. She's up on the window again. So there's a window there. New windows that I've put in, and then the little laundry bathroom window. And if she sees a bird going past this window, then she bolts in there, jumps up on that window. I mean, the bird's gone, but she likes to pretend. So same thing, fingers in, pull, and close that up. So I've put 2 new windows in here while I was recovering. I thought I might as well do some renos, let in a little bit more light. And she loves it because she's got 2 more windows to get on where she can go and look at people on the bike path and watch birds at that one, but she's constantly falling off them. Good thing she's cute. So I'll whack some clips up along those turnout holes and take that over to the sewing machine and we'll just top stitch along that top edge where the turnout hole is. I need to go rescue the cat, she's stuck. See you at the sewing machine. So lengthen my stitch length back up around 4.5 because I'm top stitching, and I'm just going to sew across that top edge where the turnout hole is at 1/8 of an inch.
Right there on top of the moon, we could sit and do nothing. I wish we were bold to just fly away. I don't wanna care, just be here and I'm good.
Too easy. So there's my slip pockets top stitched. Had to say with the lisp. And I've got my lining pieces. So I'm going to grab one of my lining pieces and fold it in half along the long edge and find my centers. So I'm just going to give it a little snip top and bottom on both pieces. That's one. And isn't this fabric fabulous? I got it from Spotlight. It was just perfect. The stars aligned for me. There and there. Cool. Okay. Working on one at a time, and I'm going to measure down 2.5 inches from my top edge for my placement. So 1, 2, there. And I'm lining up this line with my center snip there. Grab my slip pocket, fold it in half, and just give it a little finger press along that top stitched edge. And then I'll line up that little crease mark I just made at that line so it's right in line with my snippity snip. And then I'll whack some pins in there to hold it in place, not too close to the edge. And hopefully that is nice and level. I'll check it again in a sec. I didn't go wonky? No, cool. Okay, and one along the bottom, just to be sure. Okay, cool. And then same thing to the other one. That looks good to me. Let's take that over to the sewing machine and we'll sew down just the 3 sides along the side and along the bottom on each. Top stitching, so I'm at 4.5 and 1/8 of an inch, nice and close to the edge. And a little back stitch and just work my way around all 3 sides on both pieces. Pretty easy. They are on. So I've got my slip pockets on. Now I'm going to flip it over, and just at the top, I'm going to whack on that piece of interfacing for when I put my magnetic clasp on, just to give it that little bit more hold and stability. Cool. That's one, and then the other one. And if you haven't done a magnetic clasp before, it's so easy. You'll be fine. Like that bit on. And it's already got on interfacing on there, but this just gives it that little bit more strength, like when, you know, the bag's constantly been open and closed, it just reinforces it a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to have it turned over, going to measure down 1.5 inches from that center snip that we made and give myself a little dot there. Grab one of my backing pieces, pop that on and draw in the sides like that. So then I have the sides drawn in. Grab my trusty seam ripper, a nice sharp one, poke it in at the bottom of that line and carefully just cut up the length of that line. And then I'll grab one of them, doesn't matter which one, pop it through the holes that I just made in the front. Okay, pop that through. There we go. And then pop the backing on. I love having my cat scratches on, but it does make life a little bit more difficult. But that looks fabulous, darling. Okay. And then same thing to this one. Bananas, they are on, and we can move on to the next part of the construction. We're going to finish off making the shape of our bag now. So I've got my 2 exterior pieces and my 2 lining pieces because we're going to do the same thing to everything. I've got a pen, scissors and a ruler. So I'm going to pop my lining to one side and work on one of these guys first. So what I'm going to do is measure across 2 inches across the top and 1.5 inches down, like that. So I'm 2 inches from this corner across to here, and then I'm 1.5 inches down. And I will give myself some lines. So that's my top corner. Then at my bottom corner, I am going to measure 2 inches up and 2 inches across. So it's a 2 inch by 2 inch square. Now I'm going to do that to every single corner on the lining and the exterior pieces. Cool. Okay, so just to make sure that you're cutting the smaller corners up at the top of the lining bit, and that's just a little reminder to myself to pop that up on the screen. Then I'm just going to carefully cut out all of these corners. Okay, let's go on to the next bit. Let's get this key fob on. So I'm going to grab my key fob and one of my lining pieces, doesn't matter which piece. I've got it right side up, and I'm going to measure in 2 inches from this very top corner. And I'm going to leave my key fob overhanging around 1/4 inch or so, and whack a clip or 2 along there. And I will just go and baste that bit down off camera. I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so he's on. Now what I'm going to do is have that bit right side up in front of me, pop the other lining bit down so they are right sides together, and let that magnetic clasp catch. And then along these sides here, I'm just going to whack some clips, and remind me to leave a turnout hole. A couple of clips there, a couple of clips there. Okay, grab my pen and mark myself a turnout hole along this bottom bit. Whack that key, I'm just saying whack all the time now. Push that key fob up out of the way so the bottom lies flat. So my centre snips are together along that bottom piece as well. Cool. And measure in 2 inches from that bottom corner, and then 2 inches from that bottom corner, and leave myself a nice big turnout hole there. Okay, and then some more clips there, and a couple along the top because it can't hurt, just to help hold it all together. So it's nice and neat. Center snips are together. Cool. Okay, and then do the same thing to this piece, except I don't need to worry about leaving a turnout hole. And then we'll take that over to the sewing machine and sew that together. So down along the sides that we've clipped and along the bottom on this piece, and then on that piece, we'll leave the turnout hole. And then while we're over there, we'll box the corners. But if you're not sure what I'm talking about, then I will show you. Let's go do that. So I'm going to start with my lining piece along one of those sides, and I'm at 3/8 inch seam allowance and around 3.5 mil stitch length. And I'll do all the lining, and then I'll change out my thread and do the exterior bit. Back stitch there, and then I'll do the other side, and then this side, and then along the bottom. Now, if you're like me and you have fabulous nails, don't be tempted to use them as a stiletto. I was chatting with someone online the other day that said that she had done that and put her needle through her nail, which was lucky it was just a nail. And honestly, I did that when I first started off sewing. And there. So don't be tempted, use a sewing stiletto. If you're not sure what I mean, it's one of these guys, and I have a tutorial up on how to use it. So now I've got my corners, I'm going to box them. So I'm going to stick my fingers in there, put those seams together, like that, whack some clips on there to help me. And I'm just trying to make sure I stay in frame. And I'm going to push one side seam to one direction and then the bottom seam to the other direction. So I'm just going to seat my seams. If you want to open them up and do it, then that's up to you, but that's how I'm going to do it today, because that's what I feel like. Okay, pop that under there, same thing, around 3/8, just making sure that you're catching both sides. And push this seam to the side and the other one's laying underneath the other way. like that. Make sure I've corked both sides. Then same thing over here. Stick my fingers in there, pull that open and lay that together. And I want that bottom seam going in the same direction as I did on the other side, so it's all flat. And that one. But if you don't get that, don't worry too much about it. I just want to do it over here rather than taking it back to the table, because it's just sort of one less step for me to do, so I don't run out of energy, because I'm still a little bit tired. Okay. Get that seated nicely. Pop him under. Out of the way of the camera. And over. Cool. And that's looking good. That's the lining, and I actually remembered my turnout hole. I'll change over my thread. Okay, now I've got my exterior piece, and I'm going to be at about a 1/4 inch seam allowance for this one. And just make sure that your stitch length is still nice and short, and I'm just going to do exactly the same thing, except that I don't need to leave a turnout hole along the bottom for this piece.
Right there on top of the moon, we could sit and do nothing. I wish we were bold to just fly away. I don't wanna care, just be here and I'm good alone. I'll be okay, miss you like an old friend. Too scared now, thinking I should call up all night.
Cool. Now I'm just going to check that I caught both sides on this exterior piece, and then I'm just going to go over it again, just slightly above my existing stitches, just to reinforce it a little bit, because it is a pretty big bag, and I want to make sure that those corners hold up. So there's our bottoms all boxed. Now I've gone ahead and I've trimmed down that bit of extra bit I had. So if you were like me and you had any extra seam allowance on your corners or your sides or anywhere, just give them a bit of a tidy up before you turn your exterior piece out. Pop that out the right way, and that is looking fabulous. I'm really liking how that looks. Poke your bottoms out, your corners. And I haven't lost a nail yet. I thought one would surely pop off along the way. Make sure you've caught everything. Everything's looking good. Now, don't worry if the corners of your foam come a little bit loose. That's fine. It'll all be sewn in. And you don't want to risk burning anything at this stage trying to fix that. Cool. So that's what she looks like. And you can see how by putting our connector tabs on the same side on the pieces that they're now on the opposite piece. Now, grab our lining, open it up, and pop it into our exterior piece. Cool. I'm excited, and we're almost finished. Okay, so I'm just going to whack some clips on. I'm going to find my side seams, clip there, and clip there. And I didn't mark my centers on my exterior, so this is a reminder to myself to pop that up on the screen at the beginning for you guys, so you don't forget. I'll line up the corners. Oh, it's sitting really nicely anyway. I'll be fine, but I will pop it up on the screen at the beginning for you guys to mark your centers on your exterior. That looks good. but I'm gonna eyeball it. Yeah, cool. So I'm just gonna go around and whack some clips all the way around. Love how this looks. Okay, last couple. You see I've got my connector tabs overhanging and my little key fob strap overhanging, and that's what you want. Don't cut them off, because when we turn it back out the other way and we top stitch, we want all that to be reinforced by the top stitching. But let's take that over to the sewing machine and sew all that down. Okay, I'm sewing from the inside of my bag, but you do it however you're most comfortable with how your machine is set up. And I'm going to aim for around 1/4 of an inch. But if you need to go 1/8, then it's not a big deal. But we just want to stay so like on this side of the foam if you can. And my stitch length is around 3.5. I'm just going to hold down these seams as I go and just work my way around, just making sure that I'm catching both sides, both lining and exterior as I go. And we're going to sew down around those side bits. When you get up to your connector tabs, just make sure that they are sitting down, the metal is sitting down out of the way. And if you need a hump jump, then go ahead and grab one.
There's not much to do when all I can is thinking about you. Not doing well, don't know where you are, 'cause you're not here. It's been way too long. If I could lay down beside you, I would. When nothing really matters, that's all I wanna do. I hope that you are safe and that I will see you soon. If I could lay down beside you, I would.
Last bit here. And just before you go back over to the table, just double check and make sure you caught it all the way around and just fix it up anywhere you might have missed. Okay, there we go. Now, just like I said, make sure you've caught both sides all the way around. And I'm looking good. Okay, I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to snip away the corners, and then I'm going to snip in to the little corners. Try and get it on camera so I can show you what I mean. So I'm going to snip into those little side corners up to the stitches, being careful not to hit the stitches. So when we turn it out, it sits a bit flatter. And then take that corner off, that corner off, get rid of that excess lining I have got there too. And then snip into these corners as well. So right up to the stitches, being careful not to actually hit them. But if you do, just take it back over and just go over it again. It'll be fine. Into that little corner. And then take that corner off. Cool. Okay, looking good. Let's turn it out. So reach up into that turnout hole and just flip that exterior out. And I gave myself a nice big turnout hole so that it wasn't too physically difficult to do today. And pop that out. And also because like all that foam and everything, we don't want to scrunch up this bag too much. We want to be a bit gentle with it. So pop that out. I'm so excited. And then just push all around those seams and really push these little corners out. Now, if you want to, if you used all cotton, you'll be fine. But if you've used vinyl like me, I mean, it's, you know, you're a grown-up, I'm not your mum. If you want to give it a hit with the iron from the lining side, you can, but I'm not going to risk it. It's been too long of a day and a project. I'm just going to roll it in my fingers when I clip it ready for top stitching. So pop that down, but you do you. Don't cry to me if you burn it. I'm sure you'll be right. Just be super careful if you decide to. But I don't really think that it needs to unless you've used really thick vinyl. But I will give this turnout hole a bit of a hit with the iron. So I'll pop my fingers in, pull it close, clip it up. But if you've come this far, you know how to close a turnout hole. So I'm going to do that little bit off camera and I'll be back in a sec. So there's my turnout hole closed. Now I'm just going to roll that seam in my fingers so that my exterior and my lining are sitting nicely, and just going to whack a bunch of clips all the way around.
Say what you wanna say to me now. I wanna wake up with you in the morning. Show me there's nothing fake to me now. I wanna wake up with you in the morning. Say what you wanna say to me now. I wanna wake up with you in the morning. Show me there's nothing fake to me now. I wanna wake up with you in the morning. Turn this room, turn it to an ocean.
Okay, a couple more clips. Every time I drop a clip, I'm worried about waking the cat up. She wasn't too worried about me at like 4:30 this morning when she wanted snuggles because she was cold. Okay, so I've got that keychain as well. So I think that's going to be a bit of bulk. So when we sew over that, I think it's probably best to have that up and then let it fall over on the inside because that is a thick theme. If you used all fabric and you want to fold it down into your bag and then top stitch it over like that, then that's up to you. But I'll see how I go. Okay, let's go do that. And then we just have to fold down and sew the little side bits to get our shape. And then we're done. Okay, lengthen my stitch length to around 4.5. And ideally I'd want to sew on the outside of my bag because I'm top stitching, but it's just not going to work for me on this machine. But you do it however you feel is best going to work with your machine. So I'm going to go from the inside and work my way around. I'm going to make sure that my connector tabs are up when I sew over here and they are not in my way. And I'll decide about that key fob when I get to it. And just nice and slow at around 1/8 of an inch and just work that seam with your finger as you go.
Right there on top of the moon, we could sit and do nothing. I wish we were bold to just fly away. I don't wanna care, just be here and I'm good alone. I'll be okay, miss you like an old friend. Too scared now, thinking I should call up all night. I think it's hard how we always wait another day. How we watch things that can't just walk away.
Okay, this last little bit. And back stitch a little. Okay, now I'm going to have a look at this key fob. There we go. That'll hold her. Hey, loose. Oops, don't fall. Don't fall. There we go. Okay, so I've got it all top stitched down and now we just need to do the corners. So what I'm going to do is have my bag laying on its side, and I'm sort of going to push it up and over. And what I want to do is line up this side so that there's about 1/2 inch here. And then I'm going to whack some clips on. So it'll be pretty much lined up with that bottom corner, like that. And then I'm going to, and you want to make sure that your lining is caught up in that too. So make sure that your lining is pushed up into that side seam. Cool. Then I'm going to measure down 2 inches and give myself a chalk mark. Not too much, Catherine Ann. Just make sure that whatever you're using is going to come off easily. And whack some more clips on there, just to hold it all in place. And just making sure that your lining is tucked up in it too. Cool. Pop it over, same thing. Make sure my lining is tucked up. That's about 1/2 inch over, lining up pretty much with that corner. So if you're not sure, that's what I mean, 1/2 inch along there. And whack some clips on, measure 2 inches down, give myself a chalk mark and whack some more clips on there. And then I'll do exactly the same thing to the other side. Okay, last step. Let's take that over and just sew down these corner pieces from the top down to that 2 inch mark. Righto, we're top stitching, so still a nice long stitch length, about 4.5, and I'm starting from the inside there where I can see my chalk mark. Pop my foot down 1/8 of an inch. Little back stitch and up, keeping my fingers out of the way, and back stitch at the top too. Cool, I'll do that to all of my corners. Done. So there's the corners all sewn down, and that's what we should look like. How pretty. I'm so excited. I hope she likes it. Hope she doesn't think I'm weird or strange or anything. Clip the strap on there, and there we go. How pretty is that bag? I'm stoked. I'm just really stoked, and I'm just stoked to be here and upright and feeling good. So thanks for coming along with me today. I hope that you enjoyed watching that. If you watched for funsies or if you made it along with me, let me know how you go in the comments. Okay, guys, have a good one. And remember, until next time, it's just fabric. Have a good one, peeps. Bye. Bugger.